Alright, guys, welcome back to Days of Darkness, and welcome to my review for Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers. This one came out in 1988. It is starring Danielle Harris, Ellie Cornell, and Donald Pleasance, and was directed by Dwight H. Little. So, damage control time, people. As we mentioned, Halloween 3 did not go the way that Mustafa Akkad and John Carpenter and all other parties involved probably would have liked it to go. It was not received very well at the time. Obviously, since then it has become a cult classic. But, you know, Hollywood is a business, and cult classic does not necessarily equal money, as us horror fans know all too well. So, Mustafa Akkad, now having sole ownership of the Halloween license, goes in the damage control mode. This movie is called The Return of Michael Myers. His face is smack dab in the middle of the fucking poster, aka, hey, please don't leave. Please don't go anywhere. See, the white mask is back. The chef's knife is back. The fucking jumpsuit. Like, come on. It's just funny to see how, I'll use the term desperate for lack of a better term, but it's so funny to see how insistent they were at conveying to people, he is in this movie. We promise. Just please buy a ticket, please. And thankfully, lots of people did. You know, the Halloween franchise from here on out, for the most part, until we get to the later sequels, doesn't experience the same success that original one did, but you know, it is able to keep the heartbeat of Michael Myers in this franchise pumping. That being said, damage control movie or not, people fucking love this movie, dude. People absolutely adore Halloween 4. You'll hear people say it's their favorite sequel of the franchise. It's one of their favorite sequels of the franchise. I've heard people say it's their favorite movie of the franchise, period. And you know, I'll say this, I am in the camp of, I do like this movie. I do think there is far more positive things to be said about this than negative. That being said, you know, there are some negatives, and we're going to get into all of it here. But, you know, I'm not going to sit here and say that this is a bad movie by any means. And trust me, we'll get there. But for right now, I think Halloween 4 is perfectly fine. I think it is a good little reset after the experimental Halloween 3 that, once again, did not go super great. And yeah, man, I think this is a very safe Halloween movie. You know, obviously they're still going with the brother-sister thing. They're trying to carry on the canon from Halloween 2, so there are some weird retcons that we'll get into here in a second. But for the most part, it's a very safe movie, and it is a very entertaining movie. I hear a lot of people, for instance, talk about the opening of this and how thus far in the Halloween franchise, it is the most, besides if you count Halloween 3 and how just Halloween-centric that movie is. But as far as like the Michael Myers Halloween movies, this is easily the most Halloween feeling of all of them thus far. It's like night and day compared to the first two. But yeah, you get all that spooky ass, just those amazing shots of like rural Illinois, and just that amazing soundtrack. They resist the Halloween theme for a little bit. You know, they don't just go directly into that, and you just get this very sinister, low hum of a soundtrack to accompany the intro. And yeah, man, it's probably one of my favorite intros in the whole franchise. I think it's really cool. But fun set dressing aside, let's get into the nitty gritty. So, first thing I'll mention, and this is easily one of my big negatives of the film, just because it doesn't make any fucking sense, and I really don't think they made a super good attempt to make it make sense, and that is the fact that Dr. Loomis and Michael Myers blew the fuck up in Halloween 2. Both of those motherfuckers are dead as a doornail. And yet here they are, miraculously, you know, intact. I guess you could make some excuses for Loomis, like, oh, maybe he got out at the last second, or whatever you want to say. Bullshit. He's fucking dead. But Michael Myers, for God's sake, the dude walked out of a just hellish inferno in that hospital and was burned to a crisp. You literally saw the fucking flames inside his mask just eviscerating that fucker. And he's just, he's just in a coma. Motherfucker. And, like, he should look like fucking Freddy Krueger by now. You don't see his face anywhere in the movie, obviously, but, like, that motherfucker should be charred to the bone. Whatever, dude. It is what it is. It's something I can look past, but it is pretty ignorant, to be honest. It's like those dudes are fucking dead. And their explanation for Loomis is that, oh, he has a little burn mark on his face. Even though that dude was in a room that fucking. Anyways, I'm going to ramble about this. But yeah, it's just kind of like, what are we doing, I know there were some proposed ideas that involved Michael being more of a paranormal being, which definitely would have been weird, and I think they were super resistant to any sort of experimentation. So they're like, fuck it, he's back, we're not going to explain it. So, yeah, it is what it is. Like I said, I know I'm rambling about it, but it's just, come on. But that being said, I hear a lot of people bitch about the way Michael Myers looks in this film and the fact that and I'll say, like, the mask is pretty wonky looking. It's, I don't necessarily have any problem with the way he is as a character. I mean, it's Michael Myers. As a character, he's not, well, he shouldn't be that hard to fuck up, as you can see throughout this franchise. They don't have any problem fucking him up. But, like, if you really just look at that original Halloween, shouldn't be that hard to replicate, but it's the look of Myers that I think bothers people a lot. Some people like the mask, others don't. I'm not a huge fan of it. It looks fine. It's not the same. Very just not as sinister looking. There's just something off about it. It's the Michael Myers mask, but it's not. There's just something very off about it. That being said, narratively speaking, I'm okay with it because obviously that original mask burned to a fucking crisp. So he needs a new one. And it's definitely realistic to think that, some sleazebag toy companies would uh, profit off of this mask and make, like, cheap knockoffs of it. And that's eventually what he does steal from the store when he stalks Jamie. He just takes one off the shelf and that's just what he wears. That being said, when Myers first breaks out of the ambulance and he has that bandaged up look, I'm okay with him grabbing the mechanic suit. I'm okay with that. Have a little bit of sense of familiarity with him, but there was something about those bandages that just looked so fucking scary. And he's rocking them for a little bit in the movie, not super long, but there is a scene with him in the hospital gown with the bandages all over his face, and obviously when he's getting loaded in the ambulance, yada yada yada. But just the shots of him with those bandages, it looks so fucking creepy. And just the one where Loomis goes into the diner and there's that zoom in on him and it's just this pale white fucking. I mean, it's literally what Loomis described. It's a blank, pale, emotionless face. Obviously, this is less of a face because it's literally just bandages around his head, but I digress. I think it's a really cool look for him, and I do wish they would have stuck with that throughout the movie. I do understand once again, it's Michael Myers. See, please don't leave. It's Myers. So you gotta get him in the get up. You gotta get OG Michael back. But I did want to shout out that look that he had because I thought it looked really fucking cool. And speaking of characters that should be dead, let's talk about Dr. Loomis. Even though he's not burned to a crisp, I do like Dr. Loomis in this movie. I think Donald Pleasance, once again, you're going to hear me say that a lot. Loomis is fucking great in this movie. I love the fact that he's definitely starting to go a little kooky. He's not he's not all there anymore. I mean, you could see elements of it in part 1 and part 2, but at this point he's really starting to kind of lose it. And especially by the end of this movie, he's pretty much gone. And I just think it's a fun character evolution for him. If he's not going to be dead, you might as well have him, kind of going a little crazy. So I really enjoyed Loomis in this. Also, I really enjoyed Jamie and Rachel, played by Danielle Harris and Ellie Cornell. They are the final girls of this movie, I'll call them. And, Jamie is the daughter of a now deceased Laurie Strode via car accident. So she is Michael Myers' niece. And Michael, at least at this point in the series, has this unexplained, ungodly desire to murder everyone that he is blood relatives with. And that would include this child, Jamie, Jamie Lloyd. And looking back on it, it definitely reeks of, hey, Jamie Lee Curtis is too big of a star now and we can't use her anymore because she just is too expensive. So, but I will say, I think they pivoted from that character the best they could. It's, in hindsight, it is kind of weird, but it is what it is. And I do like the fact that we get at least a mention of her and it's not just completely swept under the rug. There is some explanation as to why she's not here because she's fucking dead. And as a result of her and Jamie's father being killed in a car accident, Jamie is now an orphan, which leads to her having an adoptive family, including her adoptive sister, Rachel. And I do like the relationship between these two. I like how it plays out in the movie. They definitely have a good, solid way of making you care about these two. There's a little tension there at first. Rachel being a high school girl and, prioritizing boys and partying and her friends and stuff like that. And she has to basically, she is forced by her parents to look after her new sister. She's a little pissy about it. Obviously, Jamie is going through a lot. It's said in this movie that her parents only died a year ago. And it is kind of like, Rachel at first does say some pretty cruel shit to her, man. She goes, I'm not really your sister, Jamie. It's like, God, okay, there's nothing wrong. I think she gets that you're not her sister, dude. Like, fuck. But that tension does eventually lead to the two of them caring very deeply for one another throughout the movie. And you can, I exaggerate. You can tell, obviously, Rachel cares about her, but, she's just being a teenager. So it's, I did like the way they portrayed those two characters. Excellent performance from both of them. I think Ellie Cornell does a really good job, but Danielle Harris, people say what you will about child actors in horror, especially around this time period, but my God, I think she does a fantastic job. And you'll see throughout these movies that the Jamie Lloyd character and Danielle Harris herself definitely got the shaft. They kind of fucked over Danielle Harris in a lot of ways with this series, and it does suck because I think she was awesome in these. I think she's awesome in the Rob Zombie Halloween movies, which we'll get to those later on. But yeah, we are gifted with two really good leading ladies for this movie. And it's a recipe for a fun slasher. You know, we get some throwaway characters like, you know, Kelly Meeker, Brady, Rachel's boyfriend, and, you know, the rednecks around town that are looking to hunt down Michael Myers. And it's literally the only police force that Sheriff Meeker has because Michael killed all the fucking cops. So it's this is all they have is this ragtag group of rednecks, which Michael does eventually kill as well. And yeah, I think, you know, the movie has a lot of really fun moments. But this does all lead to a really fun finale. It's Halloween night. They are all hunkered down in Sheriff Meeker's house. You know, there is some really fun relationship drama between Rachel and Brady, where she literally catches catches Kelly Meeker with her pants down because they were getting ready to do some fucking. Because I guess Brady was pissed off that Rachel had to bail on him, so he just goes to the next best thing. Typical high school guy, even though these actors are easily in their mid-20s. But yeah. And I really like the setting for the finale, you know, that lots of real dark tones with the cinematography. I really enjoyed it. Especially how Michael introduces himself to the finale of sitting where one of the cops was sitting. You know, Kelly Meeker tries to give him some coffee and she finds his dead body. And it's Michael sitting in the chair. It's a really fucking fun moment. We'll get into how that ends up for Kelly Meeker here in a second, but just really fun stuff here in the Sheriff Meeker's house. And it does end with a really, really fun chase scene between Rachel, Jamie, and a fucking relentless Michael Myers. These motherfuckers, they climb up onto the roof. He's there. They get into a truck with the redneck police force, I guess now you can kind of call them. At least Loomis would call them that. But they get in the truck with them, and he literally just fucking hangs on to the bottom of this fucking truck, and they just drive so far and so long, and he's just hanging on the bottom of this thing. I'm like, you know, it is not ambiguous anymore. Michael Myers is a fucking superhuman. And yeah, you know, it's say what you will about the portrayal of that aspect of the character, but it is pretty fun to just see a very schlocky, corny Michael Myers just eviscerating rednecks in a pickup truck. I love it. So yeah, man. But it does all end with the rednecks getting the better of Myers, and they're able to fill that fucker full of bullets and send him cascading into a random pit that's just in the middle of this fucking. I think they're in a cemetery, if I'm not mistaken. If my memory serves me correctly. But yeah, it's just this. It's you. There shouldn't be just a random fucking pit just anywhere. But yeah, there it is, and he just falls into this pit after they shoot the shit out of him. But before that, there is a moment that is very interesting, and it's when Jamie just like for some reason goes up to her uncle Michael and like touches his hand for a second. And I'm not sure what the reason for that is. You know, it's I don't know if it was if it was a sign of affection or what. But yeah, she goes up and just kind of touches her uncle's hand because she thinks he's dead. He's not dead, but he's about to be allegedly. And yeah, man, they fill that fucker full of bullets, and they all get off scot free, or at least you think they would. And we get, in my opinion, besides the original, my favorite ending in the Halloween franchise. You know, nothing will ever beat the original with Michael just disappearing off into the night. Um, but God, dude, Jamie's adoptive mom fixes her up a bath, and you get that shot, man. You get the shot of Jamie putting on the clown mask and going in what you would think, at least in this movie, goes in and fucking kills her mom, her adoptive mom. And just that ending shot of, you know, Loomis looking upstairs and see after the blood curdling scream from Jamie's adoptive mom, And he just looks up and he sees her with the fucking scissors and that blood-soaked clown mask. Oh my god. Such a bone-rattling, chilling ending, you know, and it just conveys the fact that evil will never die. You know, you kill one, the other one's just gonna pop up, you know. If he had killed Jamie right there, it would have been somebody else. You know, it's a never ending cycle. And I love the fact that, you know, Loomis is at the point now where he's like, fuck it. And he sees this little girl in front of him with this, you know, he was clearly just killed her mom. And he's just like, I'm not letting this happen again. And he tries to fucking shoot her. You know, they stop him foolishly, but, you know, he's just at the point where he's like, I know better. I know better than to let this fucking evil live. But, you know, all you get is, you know, Sheriff Meeker stopping him and Loomis just fucking screaming. Again, Donald Pleasance is so good in this. Just, no, no, no. Oh, dude. Such a good ending. They do, unfortunately, piss it away in Halloween 5, and we'll get to that when we do. But, man, such a good ending, though. A really, really solid Halloween movie. I really do like this one. You know, it's got some stuff I can bitch about here and there, as all these movies do, but it is definitely a huge recommend from me. I really, really like this movie. And yeah, man, that'll do it for the review portion of the video. But you know what we gotta do now, baby? We gotta get into the blood, the guts, and the gory bits. We gotta get into my kill the film. Stick around. As I've already said, Halloween 4 is one of the more beloved sequels in this franchise. But one thing you won't really hear people rant and rave too much about is the blood and guts, because there's not a whole lot here, which is fine. You know, it's not like there was a lot in the original by any means. They ramp it up in 2 a little bit, but it's not like a complete gore fest or anything like that. I'd say up until this point, Halloween 3 is like the most visually graphic out of all of them. But they definitely threw that back a little bit, and you know, we got a pretty bloodless movie. But that being said, there is some brutal shit for the standard of the Halloween franchise, at least. You know, when Michael wakes up in the ambulance, when he's in this comatose state, even though he should be a pile of ash. But he's in this comatose state, and even just at the mere mention, like as soon as he finds out, oh my god, I have a niece, he just wakes right the fuck up, and you know, he starts fucking up the doctor, and the nurse is screaming her fucking head off. For some reason, the people driving the ambulance are still just driving and not pulling the fuck over, whatever, I guess. But yeah, man, he's just fucking this doctor up, slamming his head against the wall, and then it's the first instance of you realizing, oh yeah, this guy's a fucking superhero now. So he literally just takes his thumb and just fucking pops it right into this fucker's head, man. Just BAM! You're like, oh! It's just out of nowhere. Really, really fun kill. Just crazy. Bucky getting thrown into all the electrical equipment is really fun. Just the lead up to that. Don't you pull no Halloween shit with me, bud. Like, it's fucking... it's just really, really fun. I gotta give a big shout out to, I forget his name, but it's like one of the head guys in the redneck. I'm trying to think of a name for these guys. I guess we'll call him the mob, the redneck mob. He's like one of the leaders of that whole gang. And man, he's driving that fucker. He's driving that pickup truck down the highway or wherever they are. And man, he's driving that pickup truck down the road. Michael's just taking out redneck after redneck. Some of which I would argue probably had a good chance of living. It's not like he just killed the shit out of all of them. Some of them he literally just threw off the truck. You know, obviously that's going to fuck you up a little bit, but Michael might have missed a couple bodies there, man. It's not every day you get to see someone who survives an encounter like that with Michael Myers. So I guess those guys have something to brag about. Or maybe they're dead. Who knows? But anyways, you know for a fact the guy driving the truck is dead. Because Michael just reaches in and just rips this fucker's throat out. Easily the bloodiest kill of the film. Not my kill of the film, but damn is it close. Fucking just out of nowhere brutal, for a relatively bloodless film just to get that. It's like, holy fuck. Like, it just comes out of nowhere and it's really fun. Next up, we have Brady's death, who I will say he's a little bit of a scumbag, but he does put up a valiant effort to protect Rachel and Jamie, but it does end up getting his skull fucking crushed. I say that, I'm not really sure if that's intended to be what it is. All I know is Michael grabs this fucking kid's head and you can hear like just this crunching fucking noise and you're like, oh shit. I hear some people say that he broke his neck. I'm gonna go with the skull crush just because it's cooler. So yeah, man. Brady gets his fucking head crushed in. But easily my favorite, by far, kill of the film for me has to go to Kelly Meeker. She tries to give this guy coffee. It ends up being Michael, and Michael has a shotgun. And you're like, oh, this could get a little interesting. Michael has a gun? Is he going to actually use a gun? And he uses it, but not the way you would expect. He corners Kelly Meeker and fucking stabs the shit out of this girl with a shotgun. Just like, you can tell just by the way he's holding it. He goes like, I never learned how to use one of these. I know how to stab people, though, and just fucking wham! Just right through her, right through the fucking wall. She gets pinned to the wall, little love letter to the original 78 film. And yeah, man, easily, just because every time I watch this film with somebody, that's always the death that gets the most reaction out of people, just because it's like, what the fuck? And that's easily going to be my kill of the film. And that will do it for my review of Halloween 4. Guys, thank you as always for stopping by, supporting the channel, supporting the dream. And next time on Days of Darkness, we're going to start interluding films in between Halloween movie reviews. And we're going to start with easily one of the best horror films to come out last year. We are going to talk about The Substance. And I am very, very excited to talk to you guys about that movie. But until then, thank you guys as always for stopping by. Thank you for supporting the channel and supporting the dream. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and for the love of all things gory, keep watching horror. Alright guys, have a good day.